Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jason's World. I am absolutely insane today, but I wanted to come out and do a quick video. I felt like I missed you guys. It's been a couple days, and thank you so much for last week joining my 7-day marathon challenge. I so appreciate you being there with me. It meant the world to me. You got me to well over 4,000 subscribers. I have no idea why. Well, I do. Thank you again so much for joining me and for putting up with me. I really appreciate it. So this video is just going to briefly cover some of the stones that I use for restorations on antique jewelry and vintage jewelry. I've been a restoration, I should say, artist my whole time of being an artist, and this is just a small sampling of the stones that I use to do the restorations. What you're looking at is garnet glass. So these are synthetic garnet, and these were made in the Czech Republic. And this one's older than this one. And notice the metal, so they're brass, they're not gold filled. And even the pin mechanism on this, someone can say, well, that's very, very old. No, actually it's not, because, they go crazy about, some people go crazy about this simple rollover being early. It's not. This brooch is from the Czech Republic, and you can see that the knuckle on this side has not been resoldered, and that's a newer knuckle, meaning that brooch is probably from, maybe the 20s or 30s. So it's not Victorian. It's a Victorian reproduction from the 20s and 30s. Anyways, getting into why we're here. We're here about the stones. Notice the kind of orange peel effect on these stones. There's kind of an orange peel effect, or like a stippled surface on both of these. Please be careful with sellers who are selling these as garnets. They are not. These are glass. So although it does shift the price drastically, just remember, look very closely. So anytime you see that orange peel effect on the stones, those are in fact glass. These are not garnets, and you can tell by the color. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, for example, let me grab another one, this one right here. Oh, and by the way, I had to re-record this video. I got 17 minutes into the last one, so if I sound a little frustrated, it's because I had to re-record because I had an alarm set on my phone. And it went off 17 minutes into the video. So it almost gave me a nervous breakdown. But here we go. So notice the color. These are genuine garnets. And I don't know why I'm screaming. Probably because I'm having trouble hearing myself lately. All right. So I'll be a little bit more quiet for you. There's garnets on this side. On the right side, these are genuine garnets. On this side, these are both glass. Notice the difference. Notice the difference in color, and notice the difference in the surface. See how these are kind of dull because they're stippled, like I said, an orange peel effect? And look how brightly these are actually physically hand cut. Now, you're going to ask yourself, what about these little pieces of paper? We'll get into that very, very soon. Those are original to setting. Anytime they set garnets this old, and this one's Victorian, anytime they set garnets this old, they used small pieces of paper or small pieces of foil to illuminate behind the stones. So if the metal underneath ever tarnished or oxidized, they realized that the stones would go dull. Because they're closed back set. These are not like today's stones that are open back set. Okay? So that's kind of why they use that paper. And I'll get into I guess I'll get into the technicality of how they set those stones in another video. So we're here about the stones themselves tonight. And those are some of the garnets that I use. Glass, as that one goes toppling down. Glass, and then genuine garnets in that one. Okay? I also brought out other examples, and why I kept these was to harvest the stones out of these pieces, and these were too far gone, meaning the metal was damaged or the pinbacks were too far gone, and there was no reason to restore these. But these are the pieces that supply me with old, flat-backed, rose-cut garnets that I then used for restoration in other pieces. This one is also glass, so notice how they're not really faceted. Yeah, they sure sparkle, but those are not hand-faceted. Those are molded facets, and you can kind of tell up close that those are molded. Those aren't hand-faceted, and you can see that orange peel effect. That's definitely glass. Open back set, and this is brass. It's not even gold-filled. So we kept those for restoration on Bohemian glass jewelry or Czech glass jewelry. See the little pieces of paper and little pieces of foil? Those were there for that purpose of illuminating the garnets and also giving a little bit of a cushion to then push them back towards the serrated bezels. This one's Victorian. In the condition it's in, it was too far gone. So also finding pear-shaped garnets was tough. But I have this is just a fraction. I get so lost in all of this. And this one is a little bit more contemporary because there are open-backed mountings on the back here, and then the pin mechanism, of course, had been replaced several times and finally broke off. So there's that one, and those are garnets. See how they're cut and faceted? Look how sparkly they are, and those are rose cut as well. So they have they mounted them inverted, so the 6 facets, and they're probably Dutch rose, meaning two rows or double rose cut. So there's 2 rows of facets rather than just 1 row of 6. And then there's this one. So this one's Victorian as well. And sorry that I'm going a little bit quicker than I really wanted to, but again, re-recording that video was very, very difficult for me because I had a rough day, and it only frustrated me more. The reason why I kept this bag was there were pear-shaped rose cut garnets, and then also, let's see here, I think there was seed pearls in this bag. Yeah, seed pearls in this bag. And I mean, this collection I've had for I've been amassing this for over 25 years, but that's gold. That's definitely gold. You can tell by its color. But look at those tiny little half pearls in the fleur-de-lis. Again, that will just be a donor piece to restore another piece and proudly historically restore another piece. So that's just some of the garnet. Oh, here's some of the single earrings that I had kept. And then these little stones, I think the reason I set these out was to show you. I'm not even going to get close to showing you, but this is a genuine garnet. Look how look how tiny that is. Look how dirty my hands are. Oh well. See how it's faceted, and that's not glass, so that's definitely faceted. There's no orange peel to that genuine gemstone. All right, so that kind of gives you a quick crash course on garnet and restoration of garnet stuff. So I'm going to scoot that out of the way, and then there's seed pearls. So I've always been fascinated by the tiny little seed pearls, and these are drilled out. And they're on thread. They're normally on horsehair, but these are definitely on thread. And again, some sellers say, oh, that's on horsehair. No, it's not. Settle down. That's on thread. That's definitely a thread for sure. Thread is broken in these tiny little drilled out seed pearls. So beautiful. Okay, so I use those for restoration as well because you can't get those anymore. Now, let me scoot all this out of the way. All right, and that's only a portion of the garnet stuff. I think there's another container somewhere, and I'm looking around for it, and I just don't see it right now. All right, so let's get into, I almost dumped that over. That wouldn't have been good. That's tragic. And the other video, I was so much closer to some of this stuff. So I'm going to zoom in again because, let's see, I'm going to do that one. And thank you so much again for joining me. This has been such an amazing thing to share all this with you. And these, these boxes. Oh, let's do this one too. Wait a minute. Let's do this one too. We'll do that one. And there's, I don't know. There's probably a good. No, yeah, we'll do that one too, just because there's about, okay, so of these little boxes, there's about 100 and, let me do this one too. There's about 190, let's see. Yeah, that's good for now. There's about 190 of these. So I bought at an old antique and vintage jewelry store, and I'm going to zoom in. We're just going to go like this. So these were small boxes that the gentleman had used for restoration for years and years and years. And in my first video, I was using my giant finger to point these, but I'll use a little tiny chopstick to kind of navigate some of these. But these are all genuine. Let me zoom in a little bit more. These are genuine rose cut and table cut garnets. I don't see any glass in this. A couple of them might be. The marquee is definitely glass for sure. And then the rest of these, maybe there's a couple glass in here. Most of these are rose cut garnets. They have 6 facets. They're slightly out of round. That doesn't mean, a rose cut isn't slightly out of round. It doesn't mean that. But rose cut has 6 facets, and these are just hand faceted, so some are slightly out of round. But very old. So these are Victorian, and I use these for restorations. That is just glass as well. The giant oval shouldn't be in there, but I don't know how that happened. Probably because I was doing a restoration at like 3 in the morning, and I just threw it in there because I didn't know where else to put it. And then I'll be looking for it and be like, where did that oval go? I'll have to go through 170 boxes of tiny stones. These are foil backed right here. So those are clearly glass. Anytime you see a gold backing on them, that means they're foil backed, and those are glass. Okay, so that gives you a lay of the land of some of the garnets that I use. And again, these are tiny. I wish you could see them in my hand. Here, let's zoom back out. I always zoom back in when I say I'm going to zoom out. There you go. So look how tiny they are. They're very, very small. Millimeter wise, I think they range between, I'm going to say in that box, they're probably like a 2.5 millimeter by about a 2.5 by probably about 6 millimeter at the biggest, aside from the giant, oval that doesn't belong in there. All right, so those are the garnet ones. Let me put that back where they go. Let's get into more of the garnets, and then we'll transition into some other stones. These were just more of the garnets. This one, these are clearly probably, yeah, that's not. Let's see here. That's not as well. That one could possibly be. But anyways, so just varied sizes, varied colors, and some of the boxes have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stones, and other boxes don't. Let's go into these. So these were emerald, labeled as emerald, and they're not. They're not even synthetic emerald or flux inclusion grown emerald. They're just emerald glass. So these are probably from the Czech Republic at the time, and these are just emerald glass, but much larger, but great for restoration and rhinestone pieces. And I like the varied colors. And that one might be a created, that one right there. But okay, so there you go for some of the quote emerald glass, and I have that in every color. I have it in red, blue, ruby, sapphire, amethyst, citrine. These are interesting. So these don't come up very often anymore. They were listed as tiny pearls, and these are genuine pearls, tiny seed pearls. Teeny tiny little babies, and impossible to find these days. They are not drilled, so these are all undrilled tiny pearls. Fantastic for antique restoration, and I mean fantastic. So look at the color variance in that. You could tell these are definitely natural. Now, some of these smaller ones and these larger ones may be cultured. So, I shouldn't say natural, but I should say cultured and then naturally grown inside of the clam or the oyster or the mollusk. Really beautiful coloration on those, but nice because they look old, and they are. So those are antique or at least vintage. So there's the teeny tiny pearls for restoration. Now we'll go with these because these are very interesting. So it says fresh and seed pearls, and they are. So what I've always used these for is restorations on antique lavaliers. Now, an antique lavalier is a small or romantic size pendant that's very, very small that was made turn of the last century, 1900, so 1890 through 1915, and that's the height of the lavaliers, the genuine lavaliers, especially into the Edwardian time period. So there are natural pearls in this to where all of these are natural. Look at the coloration. Let me zoom in on that. Look at the coloration on that pink one. That is an incredible natural pearl. So what I would do with these is I would drill out the top very carefully with a tiny drill bit. So I would drill out the top of this one right here, and then I would put a gold wire bail or a silver wire bail, like a little hook, a bail, as I trip over that, a little bail at the top, a little eyelet, and then I would run the wire down about on this one probably about an eighth of an inch. And again, these are very, very small, so it would take me a while. But then that would be used as the drop on the lavalier necklace. Most lavaliers that I've seen lately have been missing their drop pearls and their blister pearl drops. So I would use these. That one's beautiful for a lavalier drop. Can you imagine that one? Let me scoot these out of the way. So look at that one. So I would drill out the top of this very carefully, and then I would inset a gold or a silver wire, and I would oxidize the wires so they would look gold. And my restorations, when I do restorations, I do them right. I don't just guess my way through it. And I've been doing it so long now that I make sure I do it completely correct to the period that these pieces came from. These are also natural half pearls. This one is cultured, so you can see on the inside, see how they started that pearl with a little tiny bead or a little tiny disc, and then this grew around it. Anyways, so let me scoot by that. Let me go over here. Yeah, so half pearls and also seed pearls and blister pearls. So again, as I shake it and drive you completely crazy. Again, sorry for the nervousness of this, but I was excited to come back to you. And I'm so happy that you're here with me. So I use those for restorations. Now, let me get into, some of these were interesting because, again, people can't find these anymore. And these were imitation turquoise. And I was so glad that they put right on here that they were imitation, because I would have known when I opened this. But let's scoot some of these out of the way. Let's move some of these giant ones. So finding any of the half turquoise, or, you know, half round, if you will, cut in half, is almost impossible these days. And here I am, selfish Jason, with a box full. But I use these so often in restoration of Victorian and antique jewelry. So these were, look at how small some of these got, and there's tons of them down in this box. So as you move these bigger ones, the bigger ones always come to the surface. And that's another thing. So if you ever shake a jewelry jar, or you shake a little box or something, all the tinies and shinies are going to go to the bottom. And that's where most of the gold, when I go to places, I will shake and sift things, and most of the gold goes to the bottom. Because most of the gold pieces are very, very small. The ones that they miss, I should say that. So a helpful hint. So when you're thrifting, you know, shake a jar, shake a box, and most of the gold will go right down to the bottom. So just another helpful hint. Let's see here. I lost my train of thought, but just take that all in. And again, these are so very small. Now to get these today, I got them all over my box, by the way. They're everywhere. So look how small, you know, and when I pick them up, I just use, you know, my finger. And again, my fingernails are so dirty. Yuck. It's been a long day at work. And I work, I'll tell you, I work my hands to death some days, and today was one of those days. Marathon day, and the cataloging today was just insane. I cataloged over, proudly I cataloged over 110 lots, and I probably have another 200 to go tomorrow. But these are really, 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 really fantastic for restoration. So, all right, I'll let that go. And on millimeter size on that, they probably range between a 1 millimeter, and on the very, very large one, that's probably a 13 millimeter. But on most of them, they're around 3 to 4 millimeter on those, most of them. But again, use those for restoration. And what was lovely about that is the color varied in some of those. Now, these are opal, and these are antique opal. Let me see if I can settle down. And, you know, I never settle down in these videos. I'm so hyper. I'm a nutcase. So there are so many different colors of genuine opal, and that one's an opal. I think there's some that are glass. I think 2 or 3. I remember looking through this box years ago, and I do remember finding 2 or 3 that were glass. But most of these, look at the fire. Now, look at how some of them are chipped and damaged. So they must have come out of antique jewelry way back when, you know, Victorian rings or Victorian brooch. And but beautiful, beautiful in their color and in their size. Magnificent, to be perfectly honest with you. So fantastic opal, and very beautiful. Now, origin on these, I'm going to say most. And again, you know, I'll get into origins on stones when I do specific videos, but most of these are going to be Australia, more than likely. Yeah, Australian. That one's cracked in half. Now, why I kept all these is when you find antique or vintage opal jewelry so many times, it'll be missing stones, or the stones there will be broken and damaged, chipped or cracked, especially the tiny little round ones. Now, I have a whole nother box of the round ones. I must have now over 2,000 loose opals in various sizes and various colors, but they're all old. I only went after the old ones, but I have a ton like this size that are very, very, very hard to find. And in the Thai princess rings, some people misidentify them as harem rings. I think they like to say the word, this is a harem ring. Well, we'll get into that in the future, because they're not harem rings, but they're Thai princess rings, the throne style rings. The harem rings are multiple bands. The Thai princess rings or the dome rings, they usually are missing an opal and need to be fixed. So they cry out to be fixed. So that's the opal box. And I think there's maybe 7 more boxes of opals. This one was moonstones. And these are genuine moonstone. And what's great about them is they're almost water clear, but look how old and vintage. And the way that these, that's a little orb. That's like a little, it's a round one. Not even, look at that. And look at the flash in that thing. Look at that. That Mother Nature had a heck of a good span of time there. That's fantastic. All right, I get distracted by beauty, as you all know. I get excited, and thank you for letting me get excited. And thank you for letting me share this video. There's another one that's a fantastic one. Oh, Mamma Mia. All right, so let me flip this one. So you can see the depth of the cabochons as well. These are not new. And this one's just a big, clunky, kind of unrefined one, and I don't know why that's in there. But all right, so there's the Moonstone, one of the Moonstone boxes. I think there's 4 boxes of Moonstones. But if the light wasn't so bright, you would be able to see how beautiful those are. Let me kind of tap those down and you can see how fantastic. So those are genuine moonstone. Really, really, really helpful to restore old pieces. And these are things that are used to restore old. These are pear-shaped garnet. Oh, there we go. So these are pear-shaped garnet. They're flat on the back. So are they genuine rose cut? No. These are probably dual rose cut, or I believe that would be, let me see here and make sure. Yeah, there's 6 facets. Boy, this is fighting with me on this one. 6 facets on the top and then another row on the outside of that. So that's not in fact a genuine rose cut, but almost. And you can see the variance in the difference. So those are Victorian garnets as well. And I kept those. That one's just I don't know why that's in there. That doesn't belong in there. But I was probably doing a restoration again at like 3 or 4 in the morning because I don't sleep. And that probably I just threw it in the box because I didn't know where else to put it to keep it safe without losing it. Now, half pearls. So this is an interesting box. Why they kept this is these are clearly cultured. So these little tiny pearls are in fact cultured half pearls. So they're a cultured pearl that then is carefully cut in half. You can see that the nucleus is most of that. So that's a glass bead that then grew inside of the host, and it grew and put a nacre and a luster on them that is natural. So those are natural. I guess I should know. I'm gonna back myself up. Those are cultured inside of a natural host. Okay, let me scoot some of these out of the way. And I think I'm getting distracted because I said I was gonna only stay on for 20 minutes, and here I am, 22 minutes in. So again, there's a nice piece of lint. This is amazing because to find this many half pearls in that size, again, they go from around 1.5 millimeter to about 4. Yeah, I would say about 4 or 5 millimeter at the biggest. But look at that. They're very, very, very hard to find, these half pearls. And these were used in the Victorian times. These were used in the Edwardian times. These were used in the Art Deco times. And when you start to lose some of these out of jewelry, a lot of companies and jewelers will just look at you and say, I'm sorry, you are out of luck because I can't help you. I can't fix that for you. Well, then there comes Jason, who has a box of literally probably, I don't know. There's probably 800 of them in that box, or maybe 600 on a terrible day. And then I have 2 boxes of them. So again, the antique restoration that I do is still, pretty much a full-time gig. I guess I'll say that, boy, there's so many other boxes of them. There's like amethyst ones that are genuine amethyst in a box. I don't know. The list rolls on, and then there's a whole other drawer of them. So I'm gonna call it quits on that, and then I'll just show you. This one I kept, and this one I kept. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on, but I'm not going to tonight. So I kept some of these because, again, these were finding and parts and Victorian pieces and parts, and of course a dog fur from one of my dogs, and some glorious lint. But you're seeing it straight out of where I work out of. And again, let me get my pointer and get my big finger out of the way. But you'll see some of these parts. You can see why I kept them for restoration. restorations, a silver tassel, and this is one of literally probably 400 little parcels that I had kept. You know, I needed sometimes an old C clasp, sometimes you need an old Victorian barrel clasp that, you know, that's 9-karat gold. You can just tell by coloration and by patination. And as you stick with me in these videos, you'll understand a lot more about the oxidation of metal, how to tell gold from silver just by sight, so you don't have to test everything. Testing will only get you so far, as I've said before. It's all about application of your information to be accurate. And I'm showing you the Jason's guide. These are tiny little half-drilled lavalier pearls. So again, these went on the center of a lavalier. Look how small. You know, those would get lost by pretty much any other restorer. They would just lose them. But I carefully got these off of a gold piece that was completely broken. And those are half-drilled pearls. I kept a lot of these pieces and parts, coral, Chinese coral, and then this is, this one's a Montana sapphire brooch, and I kept this to restore it. That's gold all day long. You can tell it's probably signed, but that's gold all day long. Let's see here. Yeah, of course it's signed. There you go. 14 karat and turn of the century clasp. Again, that's around 19, I don't know, some people go absolutely nuts, but that's like 1900, 1915. I think by 1918 that was gone, that was out. It wasn't popular anymore because they broke. But Yogo Gulch sapphire, more than likely, from Yogo Gulch, Montana. Yogo Gulch sapphire is more than likely. That cornflower blue is unmistakable, but I want to restore that. So to put these little pearls back on that, I set that aside to either use the pearls off of it or restore it. But that definitely should be restored. Okay, so but the box just keeps going and going and going, and these are little black star sapphires, and then this is a single diamond earring that had like very miscolored diamonds, but I kept that because sometimes finding off-color diamonds is very difficult, but that would be a great piece to restore, an antique piece. Now it's a contemporary earring, you know, that's a contemporary. But again, this box, it just keeps going and going and going for old stones in restoration. I think some of these pieces, the little dachshund, he's a cute little charm. I just stuck him in there. I don't know why, probably so I didn't lose them. But a lot of these I was going to use for pieces and parts and components. Let me get some of these things out of the way. And then, I'm going to call it. Oh, there's underneath here, there's a dragon's breath. I think the top was probably broken, and I was going to turn that into a ring or a pendant. I was going to turn that into a ring or a pendant, and I just never did. I don't know. I had the best intentions. Here's a single Victorian earring. That's kind of a pretty single Victorian earring, and I kept that, obviously. Why would I have melted that down? No thanks. And then a little feldspar acorn Victorian. But you can see in this where my mind was of keeping. That's uranium glass. I'm sure it is. I'm sure that's uranium glass. Let's go crazy about uranium glass. Let's see if, oh yeah, it's uranium glass. Oh my God, I'm going crazy. Just kidding, I'm not. I feel about it. Oh, this is a very neat garnet pendant with old rose cut garnets in that one. And that would be a great thing to restore a garnet necklace that's missing its drop. Okay, I'm losing it. It's late here. I had to re-record the video. I know this is going to be really sloppy, but I so appreciate you sharing me out to everyone as I continue to dig through these stones. I'm probably going to be up until 4 in the morning looking through stones now. So there's that container of stones. There's a great deal more, but like for rhinestone, I'll just give you, for example, this is only one tray of, I don't know. This is probably one tray of, I don't know, one tray of, who knows, probably 50 or 60. And then these are all parts and components and rhinestones in here to do restorations. So yeah, you can tell that the restoration with this man runs deep. That's all I can say. A Haskell earring that Rosemonte rhinestones. There you go. Okay, so I'm and probably a mosaic brooch. Yeah, a mosaic brooch. I was going to use the tessera out of because the back was broken out of. So yeah, so now you can see that restorations, that's another thing that I am very, very, very versed at. And then I'll get into specifics of how you choose the stones, the cuts of the stones, the ages of the stones. You know how I end this? I really appreciate you all so, so much. Thank you for bearing with my insanity today. And you know this, I'll be back with you very, very soon. Thank you so much. I love you. Have a wonderful night. Thanks again.